Are you afraid to say what you really feel about same-sex marriage? Well, that's understandable, because there are a lot of hurtful words being spoken in this debate, and none of us wants to be labelled a bigot or a hater. And I've been called those things and a lot worse. Let me tell you my story. When I first came out and then proceeded really to become a gay rights activist, if anybody ever sought to challenge me about my lifestyle or my identity, etc., I would turn around and call them, a bigot or intolerant or a homophobe. In some ways it went with the territory, you didn't dare let anybody challenge you, etc. It was very interesting for me that when I left behind the gay community, and I left behind gay rights, and I, in a sense, began to take my place among mainstream society, I suddenly found others would begin to turn on me, and the very thing that I'd thrown at others was now being thrown back at me. And in some cases by people who'd never experienced same-sex attraction. I suddenly found myself in a place being bullied by other sex-attracted people towards me as someone who was still experiencing same-sex attraction, and I was being called the intolerant, bigoted homophobe. I've come to learn this, that when somebody makes you feel frightened about something, you need to step into that fear. Speak up, speak out like you never had before. Somebody may totally disagree with me about what I think and what I know to be true, etc. They're allowed to have that opinion. It's important that my response is a loving, respectful response, but I'm also permitted to be able to be very firm about my response. But the temperature has been changing this past 18 months, last 2 years, and certainly since the same-sex marriage debate has been going on in the midst of our community and our society. People feel that they can't turn around and have a discussion, and they can't turn around and say no. And yet in my own discussion with some of my practicing gay mates and others who are even in their long-term gay relationships, they don't believe in same-sex marriage, but they too are being hounded and being called hate-filled names by a certain minority because their opinion is different. Well, who wants to live in a world where you're not allowed to have an opinion? Many of my intimate friends in the gay community believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, and they're not homophobic, and they're not bigoted, and they're not intolerant, and they're certainly not hate-filled. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion. We must do everything in our might to safeguard that freedom, that people can speak up and to think as they want to think. Only then will our society remain healthy. We need to stop being afraid. Differences of opinion are not wrong and need to be freely expressed. Everyone will miss out if we stop publicly having our opinion and being able to disagree. So it's time to keep speaking up in conversations, and don't let your voice be silenced.